to Motor City Comic Con 2015.
Do you know the swearing midget story? Okay, I told this on the Mark Maron podcast recently, and Nickelodeon freaked out. But he, I was auditioning for a commercial, and I told Steve about this story, and I forgot about it. Years later, he remembered it when it came to SpongeBob. But I was auditioning for like a commercial, and in the next studio over, they were auditioning for a Christmas Elf live-action commercial. So there were all these little people auditioning for this commercial. You know, midgets, they would have been called in less politically correct times. And they all had their own curly-toed shoes and outfits, and they're all there. And there was one really bitter one actor, like sitting in the hallway, kvetching to another one, just complaining loudly and profanely. And I won't use the real language because it's a family event. But
you know, if it wasn't for the Christmas, I wouldn't eat work. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for all this Christmas boop, I wouldn't eat work. You know, it's the only, you know,
and he was just like, just really cussing a Blue Street. And in the SpongeBob voice, basically
it was like his real voice. You know, son of a. I hate auditioning for the day, but it's the only time of the year that I am in work. You know, what do
I was like, wow, what a cool voice, you know. So file that away. I gotta write a lot of people checks. I'm like the total thief of the total thief of the world. But I told Steve, I said, he said, remember that story? And I said, oh yeah, you know, I do. And he said, that guy.
So I did SpongeBob, and
Steve said, you know, how do you think this guy would laugh? And I, you know, kind of had this idea from nowhere. There was just like, maybe he would laugh like a dolphin. You know, he lives in the sea, the way when a dolphin comes up and does the head thing. And he goes, yeah, that'd be, I didn't know I'd still be doing it 20 years later. You know, oh, my neck. Wait a minute, I can get a better one. Water would be nice. But, so that, you know, that's how that happened. But when you think about it, I mean, I think the inspiring thing for everybody, but especially kids, is that, you know, SpongeBob started, and Adventure Time started, and all these shows started with something that a guy drew on a piece of paper, or a female drew on a piece of paper, if it's Steven Universe or something, and, you know, that's pretty amazing. Like something that somebody drew on a piece of paper. Cat Dog was a sketch on a napkin by Peter Hanning, you know? And stuff can really, you know, everything starts out with an idea, no matter what the technology is, or you know, how many pixels it is, or whatever. It all starts out with somebody drawing something on a piece of paper, or writing down an idea on a piece of paper. That will never change. And I've been around that so many times. It's kind of inspiring to be around.
And the flip side of that, from especially speaking as somebody who's been drawing Dora the Explorer for 14 years, is that you don't know what is going to be the hit. You have no clue.
I've got the worst crystal ball in history.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff. My IMDb is littered with shows that I thought were going to be gigantic and lasted like 4 episodes.
Yep, the licenses, they come, and
this Mission Hill thing is going to be big, you know.
It's going to be great. How Kailan, kids love it.
Yeah.
Mandarin Chinese for children.
Mandarin Chinese is hard language, man. Kids don't like it like Spanish. We're packing up and going home.
Exactly. Well, luckily with somebody like Eduardo, our father from imaginary friends, like he speaks Spanish, but I was able.
They're like, do you speak Spanish, Tom, at all? Because you know this character's going to speak Spanglish, and I'm like, a little bit. None. Yeah, a little bit. I'm like, you know, I can look it up on the computer, you know, I can get the pronunciation from the mechanical computer voice, you know. So, you know, that's what I did. They would send me the scripts and I go, wow, how do you say that? You know, and total cheater.
Okay, so the other thing that I'd love to know is to talk about the actual process of doing the recording, doing the readings. Mm-hmm. What tends to be an average schedule process for an episode or for a show?
For an episode for a show, well, like I said, it all starts with an audition. You get the little piece of paper that has the picture of the character, a little personality profile, and maybe what they're looking for. You know, Forrest Gump meets, whatever, and meets Orville Redenbacher or whatever. And you're just going, wow, what does that mean? And you just try to figure out the Rubik's Cube and do the audition that makes them go, yeah, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Or you want to be the guy that makes them go, that wasn't at all what we were thinking of, but maybe it would work for this other character that we didn't have you audition for. You know, here's this other guy that we'd like you to. So those are the kind of two outcomes that you're mostly going for. But the average schedule, the SpongeBob starts out. We'll use SpongeBob as an example. It usually starts out with a story pitch that somebody does. It's like a paragraph or two, and then that gets handed off to the storyboard guys, who are hugely talented guys who can draw.
I owe their checks. I owe them a lot of checks.
Those guys, it's a really weird skill set. So, any of you guys that are looking to get into animation, learn to be a really good storyboard person, because that is gold. They're all looking for people, because it's a crazy skill set, like even crazier than mine. You gotta be able to write jokes. Those guys add all these jokes to the script. They basically write the dialogue. They're working off of a 2-paragraph thing.
And it's not sent overseas. That's one of the positions that has consistently stayed in-house and needed to be in America, whereas the rest of the animation, Korea.
Yes, and obviously, when stuff is where my Korean peeps at?
Yeah.
But they, but with Korea, they, most of the animation is done there for everything. But the timing and the comedy, isn't. Every culture doesn't have the same timing, so they got to be really, really specific and tell these people in Korea, draw it like this. Pause for this long. SpongeBob's mouth has to hang open for this long, and then close a little bit, and then open again, whatever. So the storyboard guys really do have tons of input and tons of power, and they're hard to find, because you got to be able to write jokes, be funny, have a sense of story structure, know how to write to characters, because everything is character driven. It's all about the characters. I always say, like with cartoons, mostly, it's more important of who they are than what they do. You know what I mean? Like who these characters are is way more important than what they're doing. It's not that important that if you're watching The Honeymooners, what Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton are doing all comes out of who they are and how we know their personalities to be. And so, storyboard people are that's almost alchemy to me. Like they're almost like wizards, where I'm like, holy cow, these guys are great. So anyways, long story short, they get, the storyboard then comes to, after a bunch of approval from various people, comes to me. I always read my storyboard cover to cover on every show that I'm on. Not all the voice actors do, but I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid of looking like I didn't do my due diligence, or looking like I'm lazy or whatever. Syracuse guy, So, it really helps to have that storyboard and know exactly where the characters are, what they're doing, how far SpongeBob is falling, how far apart him and Patrick are from each other when they're doing this scene. And it just saves a lot of time, because otherwise the voice director has to explain all that. I'm the voice director on SpongeBob as of this season, so it really, being on a show where everybody reads their storyboards is so helpful.
Here's my resume.
Excuse me. Here's my resume.
Oh man, you're good. I'm looking to retire. I'm like Harry Shearer. I'm doing the Harry Shearer thing.
What's up with that? No. But then we go in and record. It's usually a 4-hour record for an 11-minute episode, and after that they cut an animatic to the voiceover tracks. Then it gets shipped over to Korea to be fully animated.
Shipped to me.
Shipped
to
to
draw
you.
as a book.
To draw as a book. I know. Yeah, your stuff's amazing. Have you seen this guy's art? People keep coming up to my table and having me sign Dave Aiken's drawings, and they're amazing. So,
One of many hundreds of men and women who draw. And the main guy.
My advice to you is to go to Mr. Aiken's booth and buy a cool SpongeBob drawing and have me sign it at my table. That is the shameless plug. Yeah, his stuff is amazing. I was looking at it.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Okay, SpongeBob as Plastic Man and Patrick as Woozy Winks for you 1940s Plastic Man comic book fans.
We haven't discussed Plastic Man.
Yeah, Plastic Man is my favorite superhero of all time, and I've actually gotten to voice him in Batman Brave and Bold, which is like, you know. So then when the stuff comes back from Korea, a lot of times there's maybe some lines that the lip assignment doesn't quite track, so you got to think up other lines that do fit the lip movement you have, because you can't. Retakes are really expensive, so it's like, can we think of something that means the same thing that kind of fits those lip assignments? That's another job. There's a guy named Alan Smart on the show who's been on since the beginning. His job is just the mouths of the characters and like lip positions. He's like, I mean, that's like Einstein stuff, you know?
And it's really weird when you go to art school and you meet the kids that are there just for the lip assignment job. Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Lip assignments.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Hey, nice to meet you, Rain Man. How are you? Yeah, definitely Qantas. Yeah, but it's and then the music and sound effects and things get added later. But and it's a long process. You know, it takes 9 months usually to a year between recording it and it showing up on television. And tons of people employed in it, you know. So again, for young people or people that might want to do that for a living, you know, every prop on SpongeBob, every chair, table, you know, telephone, that needs to be designed by somebody. There's a person who decides what the stuff in SpongeBob's world will look like. The backgrounds, you know, Nick Jennings, who I talked about before, that whole crazy like dating game flower-looking motif that's behind the stuff. That was all Nick Jennings, you know. He's like this design genius, and there's, you know, there's so many jobs in that world, and the people are all really cool people.
Yeah.
It's rare to meet like a raging, you know what, on those shows, you know. Whereas when I was doing on camera, it would happen all the time. You would meet like self-absorbed, crybaby, lazy, temper tantrum people like all the time.
That's bad.
Yeah,
Is that why I'm stuck?
That's what's holding you back in your
That's why
career,
I'm
Dave.
stuck in my basement in Ohio.
That's what's
Doing
holding you
these
back.
books because they done.
Animation, like I like it, and voiceover is just very work-a-day. You know, it's a world that I understood. You know, it's like okay, you just and it was a meritocracy. It was like, wow, it didn't matter how good-looking you were, or like if you could do a lot of voices and you were versatile, you'd work a lot.
They give us about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Which probably means that we should probably ask some questions.
Yeah. Is there any craziness there that you didn't?
You know, my quick question was, so new Mr. Show stuff coming?
Yes, we just did. They did 4 episodes for Netflix. It's not called Mr. Show with Bob and David because HBO and Bob and David have bad blood, so HBO wouldn't give them the rights to the name Mr. Show. So it's just called Bob and David, Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. And it's called With Bob and David. They did 4 episodes for Netflix. My schedule's crazy because I'm on like 12 shows at a time, so I had to come in at night and shoot some stuff. I couldn't be in it as much as I would want.
But you're still there.
But I'm still there, and my wife is in a couple episodes, and my wife is also the voice of Karen, the computer, Plankton's wife on SpongeBob. So yeah. Karen.
Oh, let's see. We got to at least do a couple of questions.
Karen, named after Steve Hillenburg's wife, Karen. So it's like a super incestuous craziness.
All right. Should we do the
Yes, Black Widow. Yeah, let's do Black Widow. I met her earlier.
What's your question, young lady?
Can I do a Gary meow? Sure. That was one of those right place, right time things where they go, hey, SpongeBob Snail is going to meow, Tom. Can you meow? Meow. Great, you have the part. You know? Meow. He talks, you know, sometimes. You know. So yeah, that was just me. That was just me standing there and then going, can you do this? Meow. Of course. Yes. Next to Black Widow. Yeah.
Is there any particular episode that you consider your favorite to have done?
Of SpongeBob? I like Band Geeks, you know, Sweet Victory. You know, that's like one of my favorites. I like the chocolate episode because that's so disturbing, and I get a lot of complaints from parents, you know, like about how disturbing that episode is. So I go, as a kid, I would have loved that episode because it's so creepy and disturbing. I like the one where Amy Poehler takes in Gary. You know, she plays an old lady, a weird old lady that takes in. I think it's called Where's Gary? Yes, exactly. Yeah, Gary Come Home. So yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Toxic Pop has a new Facebook page. Like it to see pictures and keep informed about our upcoming events and videos. A link is in the description. Go to www.facebook.com/toxicpop1.